Moving now to question number 7, to do with best practices. What do you think are best practices for good government? And I'll start with Cayman.
I think that good government should be honest and open with the people. And keep in mind that they are, in a sense, hired by the people who voted for them. They should do what is best in the best interests of the people who live in the city, not the easy way out or the best interests of outside parties. It is the city's job, once again, to do what its people want, not their own agendas. Thank you.
Thank you. Gail Holmes.
I believe in the open process. I'm on the board for Open Oregon. That's a statewide board that goes around and educates different cities on the open process, the open meeting laws. So that's very, very important to me. But we also need to include the citizens' voices, which oftentimes West Linn, we do. We have community minutes, and many times people come and they talk. But I want to make sure that we have that interaction to where we are listening to what the people want, so we have that direction. And we need to be respectful interactions, which includes all of us. Whether you're a citizen, you're a business, you're on the city council, you're on the city staff. We're all in this together, and we have to respect each other. We can agree to disagree, but if we cannot come to that point, we have nothing.
Thank you. Mike Jones.
The term best practices, as generally used, is a process that is easily replicable from entity to entity and produces superior results with the use of fewer resources. Over the last several years, many government agencies have sought out best practices and communicated those practices to the people, entities, and organizations they serve. In fact, best practices has evolved to the point where it has become a buzzword. In many cases, it simply means that someone has a good idea. Should we as a city be looking at others' good ideas? You bet. When I was on the Planning Commission, we recommended and the Council approved a plan for a CCI, Commission for Citizen Involvement. That committee was formed after all of us had looked at similar plans throughout the state and region and adopted good ideas from many municipalities. We need a council that looks beyond the city's boundaries to other cities and other governments and finds solutions to our challenges and more cost-effective ways to conduct business. We need to be communicating and collaborating to look at how we're going to create a city that really captures our collective vision.
Thank you. Jody Carson.
I believe that we really need to look at finding the best practices to enhance our communication with citizens. There needs to be an ongoing dialogue between the council, the city, and the citizens. And we do a lot of communication right now, but we can really continue to enhance that communication, and we need to look at best practices in other cities to find out more and more effective ways to communicate with citizens and be able to hear their voice. In addition, we have some best practices. Our current audit committee and our current finance director our finance director has brought the city back to financial health. We have caught up on all of our audits. We have received awards for our budget, our financial reports, and we have shown that we can be exemplary in these areas, and we need to continue to do that, to implement best practices in our fiscal responsibilities. And in our other departments, we need to encourage the staff or support the staff efforts to look for best practices in those areas as well. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Kevin Brake.
I always like to give credit for a good idea from where I hear it, and I heard this idea from Bob Martin on the Planning Commission, and his proposal was that whenever the city staff came upon a challenge to how we do things, they should define the challenge, and then that challenge should do a citizen task force, and therefore the solutions to our problems should come from the citizens and not from the staff. And we seem to be moving that direction, and we're pretty successful with it, and at least in terms of forming these committees, and we'll see how all these various task forces actually come to fruition. And the only concern I have with best practices is best practices tend to be written as a set of rules for operations. And if you have a culture in City Hall where great deals of time are spent trying to subvert the rules or avoid the rules or work around the rules, then it's really difficult to implement those best practices or be successful with them. And I think when we have a culture that the rules apply to everyone and that the rules are to be obeyed and that the rules are something we aspire to versus trying to avoid, then I think the best practices would be much more successful. Thanks.